Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. And today is another day, isn't it? Beautiful day. We must always be grateful for the day that we are given and the challenges that we face throughout that day, because challenges come to make us better, to make us greater, to make us mold us into what we have to be. Yeah. Today was a very rainy day. Yeah, I had to go to town today. And I dressed because usually when it's raining in the country, when you go to town, it's sunny. So I dressed for the sun. But it wasn't sun at all. It was pure rain, wet rain and stuff. Yeah, my shoes got wet, my clothes got wet, my hoodie got wet. It was just wet, rainy day. Y'all ever feel like the responsible one? Or like the one that has to be in charge of everything and has to do everything right and has to make it in life? When I was younger, I used to compare myself to my friends a lot, right? So it's like, if my project wasn't as thick as that person own, or if I get an 85 and that person get a 90, well, next test I have to work harder if I get a 95. And it wasn't about competition or one-upping or anything like that. It's just I always had this thing to prove that I was just as smart as everybody else. Well, actually, if I'm being honest, and I'm looking at it, I have two brothers, right? And they're both intelligent. Not smart, intelligent, because there's a difference, right? They both have this affinity for learning. It's how I rate intelligence, right? How I understand it is that, because you see how people say that person born smart. I don't believe people can be born smart. I feel like people are born with different affinities for learning, right? So some people absorb information at different rates, right? So some people absorb at a higher rate, some people absorb at a lower rate, right? So that's how I see it. I see that some people are born with that ability to just absorb information at a very high rate, and we call those people they're intelligent. That's how I see it. And so my brothers were both born with that affinity to learn, to absorb information. And so I was jealous of that. I'm being honest, I always tell myself, boy, if I was born with that affinity for learning, the things I would do, But so because of that, it's they didn't have to try. They could just coast through life and still make it, still get good grades, still thing. And I'm like, if they just apply themselves a little bit, they would be on top, because that affinity for learning. And I always wanted that. But for me, if I want to do well, I have to work hard, I have to study, I have to practice, I have to. And I hated that, to be honest. So I always felt like I had something to prove, that I had to prove that I could be just as smart as them, And sometimes, maybe we don't. I shouldn't say we had a parents, but I think sometimes, parents, I think they realize it, but sometimes they compare their children, whether it's by accident or on purpose. But sometimes, you can accidentally compare your child, and that dog always barking. And you have to be very careful with that, because you see children, especially at a young age, they're very impressionable. And so sometimes I felt like I had to be, the one. So I worked hard. I put a lot of pressure on myself. No, I kind of cool out, like I stop comparing myself to others, especially because what I realize, right? In life, everybody have their journey. Everybody have their path to walk. Because I have really smart friends, and right now we all doing so well for ourselves in our own way, and everybody at different stages, some are at university, some are working corporate jobs, some are, some on their master's degree, some just starting their associate, some have children, some starting their family, some getting married. We're all at different stages in life, and it's very important not to compare yourself to others. And not to compare, oh, well, like that friend on their 4th degree and I haven't started. Like, that may not be your way. It doesn't mean you any less successful than them. Doesn't mean you any less important. But it's just that not your journey. Because I haven't gone to university. And if I'm being honest, I don't know if I'll ever go to university because I never saw that as something, like some of my friends say, like they knew from off the bat, like from when they was what they want to do with their life. And I struggle a lot with figuring out what I want to do with my life. Because when I was younger, I always wanted to be a pediatrician, right? Well, not always, but at some point I wanted to be a pediatrician. And then when I reached high school, I changed it. I wanted to be a fashion designer. And then I changed it and I wanted to be a statistician. And then I changed it. I wanted to be an aquarian. And then I changed it back to pediatrician. And then when I started working, I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I might just, work a 9 to 5, And then along the way, right, I not discovered, because I've always been sewing. Sewing has always been a part of my life since after I learned how to do it in high school. It's always been a side thing, always been something that I enjoy doing. But it's like I opened Lisa Sews, right? I started with Lisa Mask Services because it was during the COVID. And I was going to college and I used to make masks for myself, right? And then I think somebody asked me if I could make one for them. And then talk. And I started making masks for a lot of people, And yeah, I loved it. So I opened Lisa Mask Services. And so I used to make masks, and I also good at painting. Not good at painting, I am good at stenciling. Yeah, that's like where you can, anyways, doesn't matter. So I am I would do designs on the different masks, and if you want to design some money, that kind of thing. And I loved it. So that's basically how I started like doing sewing for profit, you check. And then eventually, persons started asking me to make things. So anyway, it started with skirts, little dresses, little things, pillowcases, And I was like, whoa, I could make a business out of that. So I opened Lisa Sews, and I started taking orders, And at first, my sewing really, truly wasn't all that. Certain things, because obviously, whenever you start off something, it'll never be. Because looking back, I had a chance to to see some of the orders I fulfilled early on in my thing, and I watch inside of it and I'm like, no, Lisa, that's not how you do that, that's not how you do, because now you learn how to do it properly and all of that. Anyways, let's not stray. So that's how I ended up opening Lisa Sews. And and every year it grew. Every year I got better, because more orders you get, more practice. I had a lot of misses, and that's another thing. I struggled with in the beginning, like when I would fail, in terms of when I would make an outfit and a person would not like it or that it wouldn't fit them. I used to get so depressed because especially if the person like can berate me, because I've had clients, really let me have it. Like, I mean, bro, I'm just starting off young, whatever. But anyways, it used to take a toll on me, and this made me feel really bad. And every time I would struggle to start back sewing, because, like when you fail, it's just we had to get back up. But I thankful that, I got back up. And what was I talking about? Right. All of that was to say that every year my laser sew's business got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I would work all day and sew all night, and I can't tell you exactly when, but I had a realization. This is what I want to do, and I was like, okay, I need skills. I need to learn. I need to think. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go to university for this, right? So I was doing my research and whatever, and I found this program in Trinidad, right? It's more of a fashion design kind of a thing. But at the time, I didn't do too much research about it, if I'm being honest, but I just saw the program and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. So I saved up. I practiced and stuff, and I quit my job. Everything in life happens for a reason, because after leaving my job, right, I seriously was doing my research and things to go to the university and whatever, and I realized that I wasn't ready for that kind of a program. That program required a level of skill that I had to be honest with myself and say, I don't have it. Not that I'll never get it, but at the time, I didn't have it. So I was like, okay, how to redirect. That's a thing in life, When you don't get to go, when things don't work out how you wanted it to, it's important not to just give up and say, whatever, throw away that dream. No. Sometimes you redirect. Sometimes you pivot. Sometimes you change the path. Because that's the thing about life. It's not fixed. Your future is not set in stone. Every day, with the choices you make, your future molds itself. It changes. It twists. And that's why it's very important to make good choices, informed choices. And to seek God. Because God sees everything, the whole picture. Like when you have a jigsaw puzzle and then all you have is that little piece, so you think the puzzle is that, but as you get in more pieces, the puzzle becomes clearer and clearer, and then sometimes it's not even know what you thought it was. It's a whole different picture. Yeah, it's like that. So imagine like God having the entire picture, and He knows, He sees, and so He can direct you, and He can tell you, hey, do this, do that, That sometimes we like to do our own thing and we like to go our own way, and sometimes wonder why they work out, And that's the thing about the Lord also. He gives us the freedom to choose, He will tell you, hey, do this, do that, and sometimes you might not, but at the end of the day, it's your choice, He doesn't force anybody to do anything. Yeah. So I didn't end up going to this school, but I ended up getting a lot of opportunities to sew, like a lot of different projects, a lot of different, and I would say throughout the year, man, I really grew, I really leveled up. Sometimes I was amazed my own self, like, hey, Lisa, you made that, and I'm not afraid of a sewing challenge. As for me, like, the perfect thing would be somebody that doesn't have a budget, and that doesn't, I would say they don't care, but they wouldn't mind if I fail, but they would believe in me enough to try me, and let me make something for them. Let me tell you, I did my first prom dress this year, And I was like, wow, like I was so amazed and so thankful for the opportunity, because you really never know what you can do until you do it, until you try, and yeah, I don't want to it's 15 minutes already, guys. So yeah, see you next time. Bye, guys.